Welcome back, everybody, to your three-man booth, NFL Week 9. Dan Salem with Phil and Bud. We've got your ATS picks. I don't know. I just got the magic stuff this season. I had another 2-0 week. Phil grabbed a win, picking against Dallas, and Bud got burned by the Jets again. And Chargers, who should have won and managed to give away another game. We're going to give you our top picks.
Drive to Vegas next weekend because everything you touch is gold. So drive to Vegas, play your bets, and just sit back and collect your money.
I think I should. I think I'm 10-2 or something ridiculous. So 12-2.
A professional bettor strives for about 56% being right. You're at like 80% right now.
No, I'm hoping this will get me a job working for ESPN. then I'll really.
What are our records, Dan? I don't even know what mine is.
I think you just evened out. You're 8-8. Phil's got 9-7, and I'm 10-2-1. Yeah, I'm having a magical season. You're doing pretty good, bud. You're right on the cusp of turning the corner, like Phil said, 56%, which is where he's about at. That's what you want. So
that's considered a good year.
Yeah. All right, Phil, get us started with Week 9.
Well, you literally talked me into one of my plays this week because you just assumed I was going to bet against Dallas, and then I looked at the line; it's 13.5. Then I remembered Bud telling me that Ben Ganucci's not even starting the game next week. It could be Uncle Rico for all we know. So I don't see how Pittsburgh doesn't cover 13.5 points against the Dallas team, which just bleeds points. That game on Sunday was, Bud said, unwatchable. Absolutely unwatchable. Now you're going to give a four-string quarterback? Forget it. Pittsburgh and lay the points.
We got to talk about them more later because Zeke's a shell of himself, and I don't understand. Like, I thought he was a good player.
I'll tell you right now, he doesn't have an offensive line at all. That's the reason.
And Dak just made things happen?
No, the offensive line made it happen.
Oh, I mean, before Dak went out, Zeke actually put up decent numbers. So
because Zach Martin and Lyle Collins were still playing. Now they're all hurt.
Okay, fair enough.
That's easy. I can tell you that. All right, going back to the pick. I'll just take the homer pick. I'll take the Giants +3 against Washington. They already beat them once. Washington doesn't scare anyone, so I'll take the 3.
I mean, they keep losing by 1 or 2, so you got it either way.
Yeah, I'm going to go look for maybe next week. I'll look and see what their ATS is against the spread all year because I think they've covered almost every game. Maybe not the Niners game, obviously, but just about every other one.
Yeah, no, they got to be pretty good. All right, bud, who you got for Week 9?
I'm going to take the Packers. Dan, you said I can get that at 5.5, so I'm going to take that. I'll lay the 5.5. COVID cases galore in San Francisco now. There's three starters that are gonna be out, and no Garoppolo and no George Kittle. So lay the points. Aaron Rodgers is gonna have a field day against that defense, and San Francisco's not gonna be able to score many points. And then I'm gonna take the Jets. Why the hell not?
Yeah.
There was a small moment last weekend where I said to myself, okay, I know they're going to lose, but maybe they'll cover. That didn't happen.
Yeah.
I think that you're gonna see two really bad football teams on Monday night, and the Patriots will find the way to win, but I don't think that they win by 7.5 points or 7 points, whatever the spread is. So. I think the Jets. I don't foresee this to be a very high scoring game. I think this could be like a 13-6. 13-10 kind of game if the Jets even can score touchdowns. Who knows if Sam's even playing? So
yeah. Well, they don't score in the second half. We know that much, but I don't
agree
with you. So
never. No, they never score in the second half.
And would you believe Adam Gase isn't the problem?
That's what Joe Douglas said. Joe Douglas said that the problem is, well, we'll talk about it later.
Yeah, I know. All right, so my picks this week, I'm taking two winning teams. They're giving up 2.5 points each. I like Seattle on the road and Buffalo. Bills eked out a victory over the Patriots last week. I mean, they're just making some mistakes. I think they're kind of hitting a stretch run of their season. They had a really hot start. I have a feeling they'll have a hot finish. I mean, they're a good team, but Seattle's just been consistently dominant. And less than a field goal, I like Seattle to win by a touchdown. So I'm giving those 2.5. And then I got Baltimore. They're giving 2.5 at Indianapolis. And the Colts are okay, but they're not the team we thought would really steamroll through the division. I think that the fact that Tennessee losing makes Indianapolis looks better. I don't trust Phillip Rivers, and Baltimore's got a prove-it game because they didn't get smoked by Pittsburgh, but they got a little bit humiliated. So I can see them easily handling the Colts. 2.5 is an easy give. Those are my picks for week 9.
Didn't the Colts put up 40 points last week? I'm trying to find
They put up 41 points against Detroit.
Yeah. No, yeah, I think it's about Detroit, though, than it is about Indy.
It felt like an aberration. I mean, I don't know. Phillip Rivers had one good game. He's not been bad, but
I think it's more about that Detroit defense is just it's not good.
No, they gave up similar to Atlanta, right? The week before, too. I think Detroit did. So you're right.
Play your fantasy guys against Detroit.
But it does look like the Colts will make the playoffs, which was Phil's prediction, and we all thought they'd be decent. They lost week 1, but oh yeah, you had them at the Super Bowl. That's a stretch
right now. Do not feel good about that right now.
Well, we should look back at our preseason picks though, because everyone that we thought would be good is kind of leading halfway through the season. I mean, there's a lot of football left, but it's kind of funny. I wrote an article of whether the Jets would win a game this year. They've got their most winnable game, I think, this week against the Patriots, except for the fact that Bill Belichick will never let them beat him. I think he'd run out into the field just to stop them from beating him in this humiliating year. There's no chance. I don't see how they possibly win a game, even though it seems likely that they should. But my most pessimistic view had them winning 3 times. It was Denver, where they should have won, but they lost by a field goal.
Wouldn't that be your most optimistic view?
What?
So wouldn't that be your most optimistic view?
No. My optimistic view was like 13-3. So my pessimistic view was 3-13. So
that was my optimistic view was 3-13.
Well, the other game I had them winning was against Buffalo because I figured they'd split, and they almost. I mean, the Bills let them hang in there, but they couldn't score in the second half, and they lost that game. So then the third game I had them winning was Miami, round 2, and they could. Rookie quarterback. It's Adam Gase against his old team. I mean, the Jets just stink.
Well, Tua didn't have to really do anything last week, and they won the game. Like, he wasn't that impressed. He wasn't Burrow, and he wasn't Justin Herbert slinging the ball 40 times a game, but he did enough to get a win.
Guys, what you're failing to mention is currently right now Miami has the best defense in the NFL.
I was going to say, didn't they score twice on defense this weekend? I think they did. So
and special teams.
Yes, right. Defense. I'm lumping them in together. So there's your reason why they won.
And I still believe defense wins championships, no matter how much of the offensive explosion the NFL has become. I mean, the Chiefs won last. What?
Unless you're Kansas City.
Well, the Chiefs won last year because their defense improved from the season prior when they lost. So I know that they won on the back of their offense, but it was because they got a better defense that they were able to flip it into a victory. So now I'm arguing semantics in my favor, but I know. But you're still on the 0-16 bandwagon, right? Yeah,
I am.
Yeah.
Phil said to me, well, maybe they'll fire Adam Gase during the bye. I said, why would you want to do that? He's clearly the perfect coach to go 0-16. And by the way, he's going to be our coach next year too. So, because apparently this is all Joe Douglas's fault.
There's not a chance he's the coach next year. Douglas isn't going to come out and just wring his friend through the mud halfway through the year because they know they're keeping him to play out the season. He's got to work together for another 2 months. So I'm not shocked by him defending his coach and taking it all on his own shoulders because he's the only one that's going to be left.
Dan, if you were a business owner, okay, and you hired somebody, and after 6 months you said we're going to do a 6-month review.
So it's not Douglas' job to evaluate Gase.
Tell me where there's a speck of good, because there is none.
Well, So the good thing that Gase did was get Douglas hired, right? That's in Douglas's mind.
Yeah, but he didn't even want the job. He only took the job because the Jets gave him a 6-year contract. He turned the job down twice.
Well, nobody wants to play or work for this team. So I mean, you got to convince them somehow, right?
Well, that's a problem. That's a problem. That's what people around the league think of the Jets.
I know.
That's what I said to you guys a couple weeks ago. They have to overpay for talent just to get them in there. And by the time they have to overpay for them, they've completely blown the bank, and they're not worth the value of their contract.
No, I agree. Well, the Browns used to be the same way, and I do feel like they've husked that piece of corn. I don't know the best analogy. I don't think that about the Browns anymore, even though I don't think they're as good as their record. What did they do? I mean, they kind of just weathered the storm, right? Drafted well. I mean, the Jets do have a ton of draft capital the next 2 seasons.
Well, they keep trading their players away for better draft picks.
Yeah,
which is exactly why they're tanking, because there's no way you can tell me that they're not taking it. Everybody who has value and talent, they're getting rid of. And everybody who they're keeping only has a year left on their contract, so they're not even going to be with the team next year.
I mean, all you had to do was watch them play week 1 and 2 and know they should be tanking. I mean,
So Dan, I put this scenario out to Bud. We went over the one-win teams: Giants, Texans, Jaguars, and the Jets are winless. I think at this moment, the Giants and the Texans probably don't need a quarterback. Probably. We'll see how the rest of the year plays out. Jacksonville, I think Gardner Minshew is a 5th or 6th round pick. They have no interest in winning either. I don't even know who's playing quarterback for them this week because it's not Minshew. So I thought about this doomsday scenario where the Jets win on Monday because they're playing the Patriots, right? Patriots are a dumpster fire. Then they play the Patriots on week 17. Wouldn't it be a Jet thing to do to win that last game in week 17 to get 2 wins, whereas Jacksonville loses the rest of the games? Then they don't even get Trevor Lawrence.
Well, that's why Adam Gase is going to continue to be the coach.
Can you imagine if that happens? That's what happened with the That's what happened with the Giants last year because they could have gotten Chase Young. They beat Washington when they shouldn't have, and that screwed them out of Chase Young.
Well, I mean, it's hard for me to imagine a team not getting at least 1 victory, but the Jets are working really hard to ensure that doesn't happen. That's why Gase is still there. I mean, I got to believe that they would have fired him if they actually wanted to win any football games because they are competing with Jacksonville, and Jacksonville's not trying to win. I agree, and they don't play each other. So they need to lose, and it's probably no coincidence that they aren't scoring in the second half.
That game, if they played each other, that game would end in a tie, 0-0.
Yeah.
They would run the ball every play to keep the clock going and just punt all game.
Well, you breezed through it, but the Giants shouldn't need a quarterback. Well, what's all this talk about Daniel Jones and people not trusting him? Is it just because he's making rookie mistakes? I mean, he's not that far into his career.
So, as I said before, this loss on Monday was clearly on his shoulders, 100%. And I defend this guy a lot, right?
Yeah.
You see him make great throws. The catch that Deion Lewis had was a great catch. The catch Golden Tate had in the end zone, great catch, great throw. He drove his team all the way down the last drive of the game, scored what should have been the game-tying touchdown and 2-point conversion, but I already went on that rant before. So you see the flashes, you see the good things that he can do, but it's just the worst possible decisions at the worst possible times. Throw the ball on the ground, throw the ball at someone's feet, throw the ball out of bounds, take a grounding penalty or take a sack. Any one of those would have been much better than throwing an interception.
True. So
in the first quarter, they showed a quote from what the hell's his name? Jason Garrett. It said, his greatest strength is his greatest weakness. Now, I interpreted that to being his competitiveness, right? He's always trying to make that play. He's always trying to hit the home run ball. So while he's trying to do that and the guy's draped on him because he's about to get sacked, he's still trying to throw the ball and make the completed pass, which ended up in 2 interceptions. Those 2 interceptions ended up being 10 points that the Bucs scored, and essentially that was the game. The Giants should have won that game. They outplayed them in every phase of that game on Monday.
So this is year 2, right, for Jones? They lost Barkley for the season. They keep losing games close. I mean, I feel like I, as an outsider, see every reason why he's the right person for this job. Those are correctable mistakes. That's teachable.
We hope.
Teachable. Now, some people never learn, but to throw the ball away and not force a throw is teachable. You need to be put in that scenario over and over and over again and like be reminded, don't throw it, don't throw it, don't throw it. Get rid of it.
I don't think they want him throwing the ball 40 times a game, which is what he did on Monday night. If Barkley's there, you're not throwing the ball 40 times because you don't have to.
But this must have been the third or fourth game they lost by like a field goal, right?
So I was looking at it before. I think the computer shut off. They lost this game by 2 points. They lost the last game by 1 against Philly. They beat Washington by 1 point, and then they lost to Dallas by 3. So every one of these games has been a field goal or less.
That's first place.
Yes, you're right.
Well, we talked about it last week. They're halfway through the season. If it evens out this year, they're in first place. Now Philadelphia's turning it on, and they have no right to win that division because it totally negates the things they need to work on. But
I don't know about turning it on. I mean, they should have lost to New York. They beat an absolute dumpster fire, awful team in Dallas. I mean, that game was, like you said, unwatchable. I mean, but listen, you win the games. You win enough games, you're going to be the division champion.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Wentz had a bad game, and they still blew them out.
Dallas is that bad. Bad.
Yeah.
I love it. I love every second of it. Don't get me wrong.
I know. It's a small consolation prize. I mean, watching the Patriots suffer.
And the worst thing about this is next year, just fast forward to September 2021, everyone will pick Dallas to win the Super Bowl again like they do for the last 25 years.
Yeah.
Every year.
Yeah. No. My thought arises because people were really high on the Bucs, thinking they're one of the best teams in the league. Now, granted, they really handed it to the Packers, but are the Giants in Tom Brady's head, or is this Buccaneers team just a little bit more average than we thought?
I think the Giants' defense is not as bad as everyone thinks it is. So if everyone thinks they're going to come in and try and just steamroll us, I think it's not happening, right? Now, they didn't have Godwin. What's his name? Ronald Jones put it on the ground again. I don't know. They're so good. Don't get me wrong. They're so good. And they're getting Antonio Brown next week. So we'll see how that works out.
Yeah, I'm just – to me, it's Kansas City and Seattle easy. I don't see anybody else that's nearly as consistent week to week. Now, granted, the Seahawks fell to Arizona, but that's a division rival. I don't know how you guys feel right now, but it's just like I'd be shocked if those two teams don't meet in the Super Bowl.
I had Seattle going 15-1, and both of you laughed at me.
Well, Bud, I'm proud of you for getting that one right.
I don't get much right anymore, but I will say this. Their defense isn't very good, and if they're going to make it to the Super Bowl, Seattle's got to fix their defense. They can score points, but it's just a point now where they need to outscore everybody. And Kansas City can keep up with them offensively, but if Seattle's defense is not going to play,
well, they just got who the hell they just get? They got a defensive player yesterday. In Seattle. I forget. I have to look it up. But they made a trade yesterday. It was under the radar because it's, I thought it was a defensive lineman, but I don't remember exactly. But at least they're trying now to mention some of those.
You mentioned Jamal Adams had been hurt too. So if he comes back healthy, you'd think he'd help. But maybe not.
Well, the good thing is this week is going to be a Tyler Lockett week and not a DK Metcalf week. So keep that one in mind, bud. They lock it week.
I hope not.
Flip-flop every week. It's flip-flop. It's Metcalf. It's Lockett, Metcalf, Lockett.
I got burned by the Steelers receivers, Claypool and Deontay Johnson or whatever his name is. It's like they've been flip-flopping on them too.
One catch for 5 goddamn yards. One catch. But you know who they play this week? They play the Cowboys, so put them right back in.
Do I start them both?
So you shouldn't be starting 2 receivers from the same team.
I know, but I don't know who to pick.
You put in Deontay Johnson.
Not Claypool?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What happened in Pittsburgh's offense that Juju Smith-Schuster is like completely – I think he's not there.
Aren't teams just putting their number 1 guy on him? And that's why?
Well, I mean, Ben's playing playing well enough that he should be, and he's a good enough quarterback that he can make those throws. I mean, he's become a non-factor in their offense.
Maybe the other guys are just a step faster. I don't know. I haven't watched enough of their games. But you're right.
Do you think Pittsburgh's going to come out of the AFC?
Oh, in the end? No, I don't.
Their defense is really good. Their defense is really good.
But they can be thrown on, though. Their run defense is top-notch, but they can be thrown on.
Yeah.
And that's what Kansas City does best.
And you still think it's Kansas City, huh?
I just –
have they really even been challenged yet? I mean, yeah, they lost to the Raiders, but that's, that could just been a bad day at the office.
I mean, Pittsburgh proved something by beating Baltimore, that's for sure. But I just think having won the Super Bowl last year gives Kansas City a leg up right now. I know Ben's been there before, but the rest of the team probably not.
That's probably going to be your AFC Championship game at least. I think it's going to be Pittsburgh and Kansas City as your AFC Championship. Who else is going to really challenge them right now?
I mean, Baltimore's got a shot if they turn things around, like if something changes down the stretch. But
I think the bloom is off the rose on Lamar. He took the league by storm last year, but teams are making him throw the ball, and it's not. I mean, I don't know where he ranks right now, but it's not even close to top 5. I don't think. Not even close.
Yeah, we saw that coming though. Like you gotta throw the ball to be a winning quarterback, and the league figures you out year 2 eventually. I mean,
Mark Andrews is on a milk carton right now. Same with Hollywood Brown. I mean, throw the ball to these guys.
Well, you wonder, that makes me think the same thing the league did it to Daniel Jones. They're forcing him to make bad decisions more year 2, negating his strengths. I mean, I don't know. Sorry to bring it back to the Giants, but not quite the same as Jackson's dominance last year. I want to get your guys' thoughts on a random fantasy football. My brother has lost George Kittle for the year and told me I have Travis Kelce and I'm out of it. And he said, "What'll it take to make the swap? Because we're a keeper league, and Kittle much less expensive than Kelce by like $13 auction dollars, right?" So I said, "Give me a running back too." And he accepted the trade, and the league got all up in arms because my brother's second, and he's thinking he wants this for the playoff push. It wasn't like a homer move, in my opinion, but I thought I could save money for next season on an equally good tight end. But
I'll say that my very first thought is: are you officially eliminated from the playoffs?
I am 4th in scoring. I am in 9th place at 2-6. I think the 4th place team is 500. So there is a hope and a prayer that I could get to 4th, but it's so unlikely. And
I'd say as long as you are not mathematically eliminated, then it's all right. If you are mathematically eliminated, no days, no deal. Collusion. Okay. Collusion. Bud tried to pull that years ago. I nixed that.
Well, I'm curious.
Years ago, I tried to make a trade for oh God, what was the running back from Kansas City? What was his name?
Jamal Charles, I think it was.
Yes. So I tried, and I was like in first place or something like that, and I was trying to cherry pick the best players from the losing football teams.
Okay.
And the whole league got up in arms, and Phil, who's the commissioner, vetoed the trade. And me and the other guy, Jeremy, we were like, "What's the big deal? Like, we could just make a trade." You would have thought like I committed like the fantasy sin.
Yeah.
And they vetoed the trade. They didn't put it through. I was mad that night. I was so mad.
That's the only trade I've ever vetoed in the entire league is that one.
Well, my brother's the commissioner. So, but the league has veto rights, so the league can vote to veto the trade. But I don't think it's gonna happen. I don't think they'll veto it.
Tell your brother to get to take those veto, because let me tell you something about trading. Nobody ever vetoes a trade because they think it's a bad trade. They veto the trade because it doesn't benefit them. That's the way that's the only reason people veto a trade. Get rid of that thing. That's crap.
Well, I made a great deal with the number 1 guy who was complaining the week before because he wanted a backup quarterback, so I gave him Bridgewater for the wide receiver Boyd on the Bengals. It was a good upgrade. I'll let you know if it goes through. We'll find out tomorrow. No, but my running backs are killing me. I got Zeke, who's a dumpster fire, and Singletary on the Bills, who is barely passable. And then
losing his job to Zach Moss.
And then the guy in Tampa Bay, who I thought was going to be good, and crap the bed against the Giants. So I can't trust any of them. So yeah.
So anyway, so going back to Zeke, I'm
Yeah.
telling you because of that offensive line. There's no. I mean, there's people saying, "Oh, Zeke's crap. He's past his prime." No, Zeke's still good. He's got zero help. I haven't really watched a lot of Dallas games because they haven't been on prime time, thank God. And I barely stomached the one on Sunday night. But I have to imagine these teams are stacking the box with Andy Dalton and Ben DiNucci. There's nowhere for Zeke to go.
No, he's getting the same number of carries. He just can't get a yard. So you're absolutely right. They're stacking it. And I mean, I don't think they have any tight ends to block for them anymore either. So
remember week 1 when Pittsburgh played New York and they gave negative yards for like the first quarter and a half to Barkley? Zeke's going to have the same thing. He's going to have minus 10 yards rushing in the first half because they're just going to eat him alive.
Well, he was a lot keeper for me, and I'm dumping him in fantasy because he's too expensive right now. I don't trust that offensive line next season either. I mean, you can't just turn that around in 1 year. Look at the Jets. They brought in a lot of nice pieces, but their offensive line hasn't made that big a difference for anything. Yeah.
That's not really a good comparison.
I mean, they're equally as bad, right? I mean, the Jets' offensive line's probably better. They just don't have Zeke. Zeke behind the Jets' offensive line, he'd be running for 200 yards a game.
Really? Because they had Le'Veon Bell. That didn't seem to work out very well.
Well, they didn't give him the ball.
A ball.
Oh, gosh. All right, so my other thought on the Jets. Does Darnold get to play quarterback for the Jets next season?
No.
Ooh, depends. Do they have the number 1 pick?
Well, Joe Douglas came out and basically said that he certainly didn't give him a
vote of confidence?
For next year. So
he's taken a huge step back in year 3. I mean,
coaching, man. It's coaching.
I know. I mean,
he's got no weapons. He's got no running game, and the coach is completely inept, and he can't coach him. So,
yeah. I mean, at the end of last season, when they won 6 or 7, I know they have Robbie Anderson, obviously, and they had a semblance of a running game, I guess. I just don't see a significant difference between the two teams, except for the results. So,
well, I tell you what it is. It's last year, the second half of their schedule was very easy.
Darnold should have walked into Joe Douglas's office and be like, "I demand a trade before the deadline."
You know, if he had had a couple of mistake-free games, they probably would have been able to deal him. But he looked ugly.
Dallas needs a quarterback.
Yeah.
Could you imagine Sam Darnold as a Dallas Cowboys? Oh, that would hurt me to see that.
Well, they don't have any offensive line. How's he going to do any better?
That's a good point. You're right.
I mean, it's hard for any quarterback to succeed without an offensive line. You got to be like the perfect combination of being able to run around and then also gunsling and then not throw interceptions. It's almost impossible.
But I will say this, that if he were to let's hypothetically say that they trade him to Dallas.
Oh.
He has enough he would have enough weapons in Dallas that his receivers would make plays for him. He has nothing right now. He has guys like Chris Herndon who catches the ball, and every time he catches the ball, he runs for a yard and then fumbles it. Every time.
Or it bounces off his hands.
Right. He has no running game, no weapons. Offensive line is suspect. No tight end play. At least in Dallas, you have Mari Cooper and Gallup and CeeDee Lamb and Zeke.
Those
there are legitimate offensive weapons. I mean, I think that if you were to
hold on
something like that, it would probably help him.
All those players were legitimate weapons when Dak was quarterback. Every one of them has disappeared off the face of the earth since.
They haven't had a quarterback.
Well, so I guess my point is, does the quarterback make the weapon, or does the weapon make the quarterback? Because those guys weren't weapons for Dalton. They're not weapons for DiNucci because he can't utilize them, right? It's a catch-22.
I guess it can go both ways, right?
No, it definitely goes both ways. It's a catch-22. I would like to think a player like Darnold, if he's good enough, could make his players into weapons. But,
so here's a question, and I know Bud's answer already. Has OBJ played his last game as a Brown?
Yes.
Where's he going? Where are they trading him to? Because they still owe him a shit ton of money. They still owe him a bunch of money.
Maybe they'll just
I
cut
don't know
him.
where he's going to go. Listen, I told you guys, trade him back to us for pennies on the dollar. I'll take him back.
They'll find a trade partner, and they'll have to eat most of his salary, just like the Jets with Bell. Or I guess the Jets cut Bell. They didn't get anything. Sorry.
Cleveland's window of opportunity was this, and now it's here.
Well, Mayfield's not the player they thought he was. He can't win them games. Like, they're a good, well-rounded team, but you need something exceptional to actually transcend being slightly above average. And they got Pittsburgh and Baltimore still ahead of them. It's an uphill climb for that team.
You trade OBJ to the Patriots. They need a wide receiver.
Oh gosh.
They're going to trade him to the Jets just to –
No, you trade him to the Patriots, and then next year you'll have Jimmy Garoppolo as the Patriots quarterback. And Sam Darnold will be the quarterback of the 49ers.
We should do that. We should have like a crystal ball and make predictions about that for next year.
We should. I'll make a roulette wheel so we can spin it.
Niners. Darnold goes to the Niners. Listen, he'd be back where he went to college, or where he went to school.
California boy.
It'd be real good for him. That would be good for him.
So then and then Trevor Lawrence is the Jets quarterback.
Maybe.
Or a washing machine, one or the other.
I actually think because of the lost COVID season that Lawrence might go back to college. I know that you think that's a BS reason to do it,